so far, but I can't lose it.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
To be the best, one must beat the best. Ovals, road courses, the streets of iconic cities, race after race, the top sim racing IndyCar stars will battle it out. In sim racing, it doesn't get any better than this. This is their battleground, for the checkered flag, for the glory, for the right to say they are the best. The cars and stars of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, presented by Butt Kicker, are ready to race.
Just 1 week ago, it was a fireworks-filled affair to begin the month of June at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Lionheart IndyCar Series, as Adam Blocker attempted to run away from the pack at the Brickyards road course. Connor Harrington and Joshua Chin both got involved in race-altering trouble. Harrington and Chin will be among the drivers looking to change their momentum for the biggest race of the season, as we are ready to go at the hollow grounds of Indianapolis Motor Speedway for HyperX Indianapolis 500 Race for the Pole qualifying. Hello everyone and welcome to RaceSpot TV for coverage of the Lionheart Racing Series powered by HyperX, makers of the premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use the promo code LionHRT15 for 15% off orders. My name is Justin Prince. Alongside me is Renzo Bonder for tonight with Arjuna Kankipati in the producer's seat. TV cameras are provided by Esteban Ballo and TrackCams 22. Additional car cameras provided by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. You can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to timing71.org to follow along with your favorite team and drivers in the real and virtual worlds of motorsport. Let's dive into our butt kicker pre-race show as it was a thrilling GP race for Renzo the last time out, and now, with these hallowed grounds, we're ready for the big one, the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
And it is our first Triple Crown event of the season, so I can't wait. You know, it's been exciting. The Indy Road, I like to call that the roar before the 500 because it is a road race, and I know Daytona has that, but I want to just throw that one in, just like personal throwing that in. But it's going to be a very nice event nevertheless, and it's the 4 toughest laps of the season so far because, you know, nailing one lap is difficult at Indianapolis. 4 by itself, it's a whole different task.
And keep in mind with qualifying tonight, if any drivers have any spins, any zero incidents, any sort of trouble during their qualifying runs, whether it's on their out lap or any point during their qualifying run, their times will be disallowed. Let's take a chance to take a look at your driving standings presented by Butt Kicker entering this pivotal part of the season. And Adam Blocker took home his 3rd victory of the season last time out, the -273 Grand Prix of Indianapolis, with Connor Harrington, Joshua Chin, Henry Bennett, and Ryan Otis rounding out the top 5. Keep in mind, Harrington having a rough go of things, Lorenzo, after an incident, while Joshua Chin had a half spin that cost him 7 seconds.
And that's been basically kind of cost him, you know, the battle for the victory at the Indy GP race. So that's why Blocker managed to kind of like shade the ghosts of the Indy GP that he had on the last time by. So that's why he got the win. Of course, pace alone in itself also dictated that, but it's going to be interesting again. Lots of these drivers have 500 experience as we're about to go into our qualifying section in a little bit. But, you know, again, one thing is qualifying, another thing is the race.
Keep in mind, for this event, it'll be the 7th running of the greatest spectacle in racing for the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Only one driver has won twice in Speedway, Indiana. Pole has only won once. That was in the first season. Keep in mind, 3 different drivers have a chance entering tonight to kiss the bricks for a second time. It's the matter, though, of how those drivers will fare out. Those competitors, Blocker, Kinsella, Karam, who have a chance to do so. And Sage Karam is the defending race winner with the smallest margin of victory coming by just 1,000th of a second back in Season 1. A lot of history has taken place in this series, and we're just about set to go for qualifying. Henry Bennett will begin things for tonight's order, and what's expected to be a big-time session, Lorenzo. Just 4 laps to set the best possible time, and Bennett is the first one out.
And already feeling a little bit of that pressure, you know, sometimes you really don't want to be the first because you kind of like try to trend the set, be the trendsetter for what's going to happen in the qualifying session. So it's going to be really interesting what the Adrenaline Motorsports Red drivers are going to be able to do here around the track. Again, it's 4 laps. If you actually get a 0x or if you get any damage whatsoever, you invalidate your run. So it's going to be interesting.
Henry Bennett so far in 8 races so far this season. 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and a pole, an average finish of 7.9 on the campaign. Entering today for the Adrenaline Motorsports Red Machine, he's now up to speed to begin qualifying. The track conditions for this session, winds are gusting at 6 miles an hour to the west. That is currently over top the front stretch grandstands facing the back straightaway. 112 degrees Fahrenheit, the track temperature, 75 degrees, the air temperature, 75% humidity. It's in time, May 15th, 2021, as Bennett is now on the clock for his first of 4 flying laps.
And hitting off on turn number 1 and 2, I think it is more tougher than hitting number 3 and 4 here, Justin, because there is a little bit of what I would say understeer that you can get from going into from 1 to 2. That is very, very hard to control, as now he goes into 3 and 4.
Keep in mind, Henry Bennett has had an up and down season for what's been an interesting campaign. The last round was one of his best finishes of the season, but 4th in the championship standings. First time around, look at that, a 39.488 to begin things on the clock. But keep in mind, it's going to be an average for these drivers to set their time. In our words, they cannot afford to make any mistakes on any of the air laps, because any mistakes during this run will disallow that lap time.
Yeah, not only disallowed that lap time, and the tricky thing is nailing consistently those 4 laps, each and every lap, with little to no gap for error. So let's see what his second lap will be.
39.593-ish. As you see the times moving on forward to the second, make it 3rd time around for Bennett. And when it comes to the speeds for this track, how do you try and maintain that said speed to have the best possible average? Make sure you don't shed a lot of time over the course of a 4-lap run.
There is a certain, I think, aspect of the road that you need to try to hit every single time, and you need to maximize carrying the speed. Basically, every single corner that you have to go is maximizing the speed. As he gonna finish his 3rd lap here, Justin. But Indianapolis is one of these few tracks that has that certain group to do it.
And the bar's already set pretty high for this qualifying session. The next driver up will be Scott Holmes. Keep in mind, 4th time around. It was at 6.43, the 3rd time around for Henry Bennett. Find out the average once he comes across the stripe to see how things fare out for Bennett overall in this session. Henry Bennett, one of the main contenders for the championship this season, making his way out of turn 4. Complete the 4th and final time around for his qualifying session at 39.672. His average is about a 39.601, with his best time being in the 39.4s.
Heading the by-hour high already here, Justin.
Absolutely. Next on the racetrack, it's Scott Holmes. Scott Holmes, 27 starts in his Lionheart IndyCar Series career, 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, and an average finish of 22.3. Sector 5 driver looking to have a good qualifying run here to start off this evening. He's 24th in the point standings.
And I think for Scott Holmes, he needs that a really good qualifying so he can actually be positioned well within the top 10, maybe top 15, and try to work out a few different strategies so he can position himself, him going forward. As I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do.
It was in the 39.7s first time around for Holmes. We'll see if he can pick up the pace the second time around. Currently running 231 miles an hour, Lorenzo, down that back straightaway. Keep in mind, 225 in the corner apexes. A lot of speed for these competitors. A bit of a bobble there. Going to cost him some time, though, coming down the front.
And that's a tricky one. Again, you need to maximize your time here as best as you can, Justin.
Now 39. 39.8, in fact, for Scott Holmes the second time around. What can you do to try and improve that at the end of the run, if that's possible, to make sure you don't lose time?
Basically send, and try to maximize the apex. Like, try to even going inside the white line in a little bit of the curbing, but you have to play with the fine margins where the grip of the curbing can give you.
Now 39.8, that time by 39.876. The third time around for Scott Holmes. That time missing a bit of the bottom in turn 2. We'll see what the time fares out. Next driver on deck will be Mike Rigney, by the way. Brian Greenlee not able to attend tonight, so that marks us 31 drivers who are set to qualify for this evening. We'll see how things fare out. But for Scott Holmes, he'll come across the stripe this time around for his average. Scott Holmes, his average a 39.847. That is 0.2 off Henry Bennett.
Yeah, but we still have a lot of drivers to go here, Justin. Sorry.
Yes, indeed, and one of them is now rolling on the track, Mike Rigney. For Mike, 19th in the standings with a top 10 so far this season. Currently in the midst of some tight battles. His best start of the season was at Worldwide Technology Raceway before the trip to Speedway, Indiana for the next couple weeks with a 9th place run. He finished 7th in that race. 52 career starts, 1 career victory, 2 top 5s, and 10 top 10s. In his Lionheart IndyCar Series career, 1 pole once his time in the series.
He's out to complete his first lap here, Justin. You can see him using a different line than Scott Holmes did, basically trying to maximize the entry of the turn and try to carry as much speed as he can possibly carry. Let's see his first lap will be.
39.608. Puts him around the ballpark of the first laps for Scott Holmes. So far, Henry Bennett's got the quickest first time with a 39.497 after 3 drivers so far.
And the setup that he has from the Adrenaline Motorsports has been very good so far.
Keep in mind, custom fixed setup for our drivers for tonight for qualifying. Fuel capacity for these cars this evening, around 3.54 gallons. Second time around was a 39.693 for Rigney.
That's what you need, Justin. You need to be efficient as best as you can every round that you go to try to minimize this time loss you get. We probably saw this with Bennett. You know, the gap going from nearly a 1/10 of a second from the first and second lap, and then third and fourth. If you can minimize that, that puts you in a very good ballpark if you want to actually aim yourself a top 10.
Keep in mind a special paint scheme on that car for this week. Some drivers having unique paint schemes for this event and a special color scheme on that 00 for tonight. Now in the 4th qualifying lap, 39.762. Now for the 4th time around, we're about to find out how the time's going to fare out for Mike Rigney. He is the highest ranked independent driver in the point standing so far this season with 207 total points behind Matt Houston and Chris Stouffer. His average across the stripe will mark him with a 39.718. That's second quickest so far out of 3 drivers.
Really solid run, and apparently we got Joe Branch coming out from the Adrenaline Motorsports Black, and Joe has been one of these guys that have been kind of kept quiet during the season, but I know he can actually make up some grounds and actually achieve some good results.
Joe Branch, 2 career victories on 121 starts in the Lionheart IndyCar Series, 26 top 5s, and 48 top 10s. His average finish in his career of 14.8. So far this season, just 25th in the standings in 7 starts. 1 top 10 on the campaign. He is now on the clock. And looking like he's going a little bit lower compared to some of the other drivers in their early run so far, Lorenzo.
I think he's taking basically the Henry Bennett lines that we were seeing when Henry is actually doing the first few laps. You can see basically going inside the white line, nearly touching the curbing on 3 and nearly touching the curbing on 4, and maximizing the run on the outside. Looking really good. And look at the gearing, basically maximizing the RPM and also the blue lights, not even upshifting to 6th.
And some drivers will be utilizing that tonight. Look at the gears in particular. You see 5th gear right now being used in the corners. We'll see if he ends up picking up to 6th gear down this straightaway, already near the top of the left limiter in 5th gear. No, he doesn't down the back. Keep in mind that's with the peak torque as well, Lorenzo, between 11.5K and 12K, that rev range for the gears.
Yeah, and for qualifying, basically there are a few adjustments that maximize the top speed out of the car. So upshifting to 6 is more like in terms of personal preference, as this second lap is at 39.615 for the Adrenaline Motorsports Black. So his run is looking really promising so far.
Right now tracking to be potentially right in front of Mike Rigney in session so far. As once again, down underneath the white line go the left side tires. And keep in mind, you can make in-car adjustments. How critical are those for qualifying, knowing those exact adjustments for the bar and the ARB to make sure you're ready to go as an hour 39.679 turned at the stripe?
Vital. It is vital. Every single lap that you're probably going to run, some drivers actually make adjustments per turn. They take it per turn, not per sector. So it's very, very interesting how they approach lap by lap. I've drivers in the Indy 500 in the open settings, they do that as well. So it's more like on the mindset of how much prepared are you to tackle turn by turn, or if you have already a prefix mindset as the Branch is about to finalize his last lap.
Joe Branch, his final lap of 39.7, his average puts him in second, behind by 4/100ths to Henry Bennett. A 39.644 is his average on the board. And that brings up one of the drivers to keep an eye on, and from those watching alone on our YouTube, can definitely tell drivers took notes after Henry Bennett's run. Sage Karam is among them. The BDE Motorsports machine ready to go. Coming off a career best run in the month of May, remember, here at the Real World Indianapolis 500-mile race. He looks to carry that momentum, as well as the momentum from this season in Lionheart IndyCar Series competition into qualifying, Lorenzo.
Yeah, the BDE Motorsports driver. Let's see how he's going to go in the virtual world. In the real world, he was actually really good, taking 7th place. So I can't wait to see what he's actually going to do, as he is the current winner of this 500 edition.
Sage Karam so far this season, just 5 starts, but 2 of them victories so far on the campaign. He had to go into last row qualifying, the bump day, essentially, for qualifying for the Real World Indianapolis 500-mile race. Sage Karam looking very quick early on, already hitting 230 down the middle of the backstretch.
Yeah, not surprising at all. Karam, just going basically similar lines to what we saw in Bennett and Branch doing, maximizing the full run off the track. Now you're going to see going on the outside on the gyro cam here, so he can maximize the usage. And him, another driver going only on the 5th gear.
39.572. That's around where his personal best was in final practice, nearly coming up towards the wall in the short chute. You've seen just how big the banking is as well. Here in Indianapolis, about 9 degrees of banking shuffled about for these drivers in the corners you've seen with the gyro cam. As now, Karam trying to pick up the tempo.
It is funny, Justin, that even though it's shallow banking compared to other ovals, it is probably the scariest shallow bankings or banking whatsoever you can get in IndyCar racing.
Second time around, a 39.629. See how the third lap fares out in his time in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. 37 starts, 10 of them having victories. 10, 16 top 5, 17 top 10s in his career. 8 times he started on the pole. And he won both Indy races last year for Lionheart. The Retro Series and the IndyCar Series, keep in mind. So very successful here at this racetrack, here with this oval. And don't forget, the Retro Series takes place at this track tomorrow night as well, for what's expected to be a thrilling race. The third time around, 39.679.
Yeah, his average looks like he's going to be on this 39.6 lows, maybe 620 from the looks of things. Let's see what his final lap will be, because the loss he's been having is nearly half a hundred of a second per lap.
Going to be a very critical fourth corner to see where the average lays. Will he be able to bump in front of Henry Bennett on the average? Trying to go down the middle of the straightaway at 39.7. And in fact, he only goes third quickest on the board so far at 39.650 average. Puts him right behind Joe Branch on the board. And that brings up Chris Fowler. The Elkin-Tech Simulations NHR Esports machine is now in the clock, Lorenzo.
And let's see what Fowler does, because he kind of had a little bit of a recovery race of sorts inside the Indy GP. He finished 11th, but he's one of these drivers that kind of goes very well in the oval portions than anything else. But he's 26th in the standings, but he can make some grounds up. But the lines have been looking really good so far.
So far in his Lionheart IndyCar Series career, just 15 starts, 1 top 10 during that time, an average finish of 22.9 for Fowler. First time around, though, a 39.530. One of the better first laps of the session so far. And he mentioned Fowler. He's had interesting moments throughout the season. He has currently scored 26th in the point standings in 8 starts. His best finish came, in fact, at the Indy GP, Lorenzo, with that 11th place.
And a very well contested race, if we remember that correctly, as he's about to round out his second lap with Stephen Larkamp and also Ryan Otis. But second lap, 39.627, looking really good so far.
Looking really good. We'll see how the third and fourth laps fare out. But if you're among some of the drivers who are watching along and looking at these runs, what type of things are you noting as competitors to adapt for your run?
If you have an idea what the setup is going to be and how you're going to run it, what you can do actually is one of those things of, I'm not going to say maximize runs, but explore the limits of the car. Where it does start to snap the oversteer of the car, it's clear, as he does a 39.715. But it's still, basically, it's explore limits and see how much grip loss you can actually have by exploring those limits, and if it's comprehensible for going those limits and get some better times out of it.
See where Chris Fowler's times now lie as he comes across for his fourth and final time for his respective run. Chris Fowler, his average will bump him to 4 for the time being, 39.655 on the pylon. And as Ryan Otis will be the next driver on the board, let's take a look at your rookie standings presented by butt kicker Henry Bennett. Just so happens to be your rookie standings leader entering tonight with 330 points. Jason Brophy having a strong season on the ovals with 288 points. Lotto Calisto, Matt Taylor, Aaron Morgan rounding out your top 5 entering tonight, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and I think the thing that benefited Henry a little bit was actually his podium finish at the Indy GP. He finished third right behind Adam Blocker and Joshua Chin. And the other good driver that actually had a good race over that was Matt Taylor. Adam Morgan had a promising race, but dropped back a few spots after a few issues. But it's been very good battles so far over here, and the 500 can bring you something extra.
As mentioned, Otis is on the clock at 39.606 to start things off on his run for the Synergy Motorsports Silver Machine. Rode his 29 career starts entering tonight in the series, 11 top 5s, 18 top 10s, 1 pole. His average finish is just under a top 10. And don't forget, a Retro Series champion back in 2020. That's where his bread and butter was before he moved over to the IndyCar Series for full-time competition this season.
And what will be his first lap? Looking really good so far. 39.694. So good build up so far. Let's see if we can actually minimize that time loss. Actually, that was the second lap correction. My apologies.
Well, I notice it's been an interesting time so far in this series. He's had some good runs so far. That's put him top 5, in fact, Renzo, in the point standings.
And
3 top 5s, 10 top 10s, Ryan, or Renzo, rather.
Yeah, and he actually got another top 10 in the Indy GP. He actually made up some of those grounds with some drivers actually getting the incidents on the latter portion of the race at Indy GP, finishing 9th on that race.
39.728 the third time around. But it's been impressive to see his transition to this car. Remember talking to him before the start of the season about the transition, and he mentioned he had a lot to learn when it comes to this car. So, now, we'll see how he's going to run overall on the board. Ryan Otis coming around for his 4th and final time. His average will move him to 5th quickest so far, 39.697. So Ryan Otis now completes his run. That brings up Matt Taylor, one of the Alcantech Simulations NHL Esports machines. Referred to early on, and Matt Taylor seems to have speed everywhere with Renzo, whether it's on a road course, and now he's spinning out, and that is going to potentially disallow his time right there.
Yeah, that is basically going to disallow his time, and that is unfortunate for Matt Taylor. That's our first driver that actually had issues with qualifying, so that's unfortunate for Matt Taylor that he might get bumped up to the back.
Still continuing to go on his run. The next driver on the clock will be Ron Hacker. Keep in mind with this format, you get even a 0x in terms of incidents. Your qualifying is disallowed, and they have just confirmed to Matt Taylor that he is not allowed to complete his run, so that is the first driver with an incident during their run on the evening. Ron Hacker is next on the board.
Yeah, unfortunate for Matt Taylor, but again, the 500 is a long race, 200 laps. He can bounce back, so don't be let down, Matt. You can actually have a better race this Sunday.
Ron Hacker, 124 career starts in the series, 3 top 5s, 29 career top 10s, and 3 poles. Ron Hacker, he's had some impressive runs so far this season. Only 34 from the point standings. He's had positions where he's ran mid-pack and showed some great speed. We'll see how he fares. This will be his first start since mid-Ohio. He's utilizing the 6th gear down the straightaway to start off his run. 232 he hit at the end of the straightaway as he nearly pushed up into the wall.
A little bit, looks like a little bit of understeer, so his weight jacker might be set up a little bit more different than usual. But you can see he's probably the second driver I've seen out of the 8 drivers we've had over here on this qualifying that has been using the 6th gear, so he can actually get the better run in the long straights, utilize the peak power, and might lose a little bit on the curves. But he can actually make up the ground just in the straight alone.
39.629-ish is his time to start things off on the board. Been an intriguing session so far, already approaching halfway through the session so far. For those tuning in, you're watching RaceSpot TV for the HyperX Indianapolis 500 race for the pole to set the grid for this weekend's 500-mile race. Justin Prince, Renzo Bonner with you, Arjuna Kankapati in the director's seat for tonight's action. As Hacker now making his way around towards the yard of bricks for the second time around. 2:31 at the stripe, another 39.6.
Looking really promising so far for Ron Hacker's runs. As you guys can see, the conditions on the track: 24 Celsius ambient, 44 on the track, partially cloudy, 75% humidity, and the winds. Well, we don't often talk about the winds, but the winds are actually helping them on the straight, in the straight leading to turn 1, not on the back straight that leads to turn 3.
As mentioned, it is facing the back straightaway for the winds. Blowing towards the back straightaway in terms of direction. 39.7 the third time around, but still has been interesting, the conditions. Keep in mind that it's constant weather for tonight. Instant time is locked to 3:35 p.m. as we now see Hacker try and pick up the pace on his fourth and final time.
And again, looking here, time loss has been right about 0.06, those 600ths of a second loss per lap.
Ron Hacker coming around for his fourth and final time. Where will his average be? A 39.7. That puts him right in front of Mike Rigney and behind Ryan Otis on the board. That brings... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say his final lap was actually just a 1,000th of a second slower than his third lap. That's why it helped him a little bit.
Now on the clock is one of the big names to keep an eye on. Last year's pole sitter, Joshua Chin from private label Team Hype. Keep in mind, he set the single lap qualifying record for this event for last year. Already slipping and sliding on this run. One of the quickest speeds in the middle of the short chute for 3 and 4 that time at 228. Went 226 on the corner exit. He's carrying speeds at 231 miles an hour at the stripe, but only a 39.6 to start things off on the board.
And remember, his record lap was a single record lap, was a 39.104. Of course, I think the track was a little bit colder back then, but still is a fast lap nevertheless, and so far a promising start for the private label Team Hype driver.
For Joshua Chin, 21 career starts in the Lionheart IndyCar Series, 2 career victories, 11 top 5s and 13 top 10s, 3 poles, including that HyperX Indianapolis 500. 39.6 the second time around as well. So far for Chin, 117 points back, as talked about earlier in the broadcast, compared to Adam Blocker. That win coming at Mid-Ohio earlier this season. Keep in mind that run in Mid-Ohio was a very dominant performance for Chin at the time that helped gain some momentum for him and his organization.
And that is to put it mildly, right, Justin? The gap he had was enormous.
Now at 39.6, the average may be one of the better ones so far as he nearly scrapes the wall. Very close that time on his fourth and final lap for making contact with the outside wall.
Whew. A little bit of a willpower moment between 1 and 2.
Let's see where he lies now on the board. Keep in mind the times can potentially be a bit more lower compared to 2020 with the tire model. As now it's a 39.7 to close things out. P5 In the 39.6s goes Joshua Chin. He will not go back-to-back for the pole. As Ken Hacker now hits the racetrack, let's talk about your team standings presented by HyperX. As private label Team Hype enters tonight with the team standings lead, for Adrenaline Motorsports Red, Alcantech Simulations NHR Esports is third, with Graphics LPM and Sector 5 rounding out the top 5 in the standings. Been an impressive group effort overall by private label Team Hype, even with some of the struggles last week.
Yeah, that second place from Joshua Chin was really good. Unfortunately, the other drivers just couldn't make up the ground. They had some, I'm not going to say under par performances, but nevertheless has been really good season. Alcantech actually has been really impressive on the Indy GP. That's why they got third in the standings and are looking to be a promising threat in the upcoming races.
As mentioned, Ken Hacker is now on the board. His first lap was in the 39.6s as well. Let's talk a little bit about this tire model and how it's impacted qualifying. Much more different how the tires warm up and fare on the circuit, Lorenzo. Your thoughts on how the tires are for these Indy cars in 2021?
I like the tires. I like the package overall, but I think the tires have improved massively how they grip on the track. There's still, of course, a massive performances you can get in terms of how you can build up the heat and maintain the heat and things like that. But the current state of the tires for this car has been really good, and to be helped with the aero package. I was talking to Chris Steele and some other drivers about this, and they said that the current aero package has been the closest to the real life thing. So I'm not surprised the work that Dallara and iRacing have been put up together to build up such a very well compacted car, and that's why I say it's the best car in the service in my opinion.
On the fourth lap now is Ken Hacker, by the way, with the 39.7 the third time around. But it's indeed interesting watching these races. They're some of the most enjoyable races, in my opinion, to be able to call in action as well. That's Ken Hacker. 47 starts, by the way, in this series. 1 top 5, 5 top 10s, just 3 starts entering this evening on the campaign. We'll see where his average now lies. Coming around the fourth corner. Ken Hacker, this time by, across the yard of bricks, will go towards the bottom of the board in front of Scott Holmes at 39.7. For his average, puts him behind Mike Rigney. And that brings up Jason Brophy, the next of the private label Team Hype machines. One of the favorites on ovals this season.
And Brophy, in my opinion, here just needs a good result for the 500 after what happened in the Indy GP. He just struggled so much in the Indy GP that that's why I was saying that was a subpar performance from the rest of the team aside Joshua Chin. He finished for 13th, but considering the buildup of the team and the immensity the team has at Indy at the Dallara IR 18, getting 13th at the Indy GP is not the best results, as his first lap is actually done, Justin. But still, we can recover.
And our 39.5, that's one of our best times to start things off. In fact, would be the third quickest time on the first laps for Jason Brophy. Jason Brophy, you mentioned 14th at the Indy GP. His best finish so far came at Homestead to start the season in third position. That was also his best starting spot in the campaign, second. And track position can be so critical for this type of event, Lorenzo. It can be difficult to cut your way through the field, hence the emphasis for qualifying.
Yeah, the emphasis of qualifying here is important. Of course, the current state of the car that makes it a little bit difficult if you're going to overtake on immense packs. That's what might happen in the 500. So if you are in the front, you're probably going to have a different strategy for the ones in the middle. And the yellow flags might throw a few wrenches in the mix. So it's going to be a really interesting race. I think if you're starting in the middle of the pack, don't be afraid, because you can make those times. You You make those places in the pit lanes where it is kind of like the main passing opportunity on the track.
Keep in mind they can be more packy to these types of races because drivers have won here in the past. There is that to think about. Drivers like Kinsella and Blocker. But indeed, the strategy can be very vital for this type of event as well.
Plus, they're running a custom fixed setup, so that kind of brings up the level of the playing field all one together. So they have to adapt on how can you make the best out of that fixed setup that should be given for that specific race. So that's why it is more packy than usual.
Fourth time around, Jason Brophy in error 39.6. His average second quickest potential, yes. Jason Brophy right behind Henry Bennett by a couple 100ths on the board in front of Joe Branch. Good run for him as that brings up Jay Brandt onto the clock. Synergy Motorsports Black Machine looking to show what he can do.
Yeah, and just looking over here at Brophy's times, basically, I think he has the least time loss in terms of the other drivers, especially his transition from the third to final lap, with just basically losing 100 of a second.
Very impressive as Jay Brandt kicks out the right rear tire, that time coming off of turn 2. Only 231 heading off into the number 1 side, that time for the corner entry as Jay Brandt coming into this event. 47 career starts, 6 top 5s, 13 top 10s, no poles. His average start, 19.8 in his career. Jay Brandt as well on the season has showed flashes of speed. Remember Worldwide Technology Raceway, he was one of the names that put himself in the conversation at one point. He's actually top 12 in the points entering tonight.
And he was one of those guys we could have talked about him, but unfortunately, I think he had a few issues on the Worldwide Technology Raceway that kind of put them back a little bit. But again, 500 is a whole different race and is double the point. So all the places you can get will actually bump you up a few spots if you're having some good runs.
Keep in mind, he only made it 1 lap in the Indy GP, 28th quickest. We are currently on the 14th driver on the board for those just tuning in. Third qualifying lap for Jay Brandt. 39.6 last time by. See where he's at for the third time before he starts his fourth and final lap. For Jay Brandt, doing this pink machine around the racetrack. It's a 39.7 the third time around. A little bit of time loss as he's starting to shift the gears here for the fourth lap.
Analyzing here, time loss has been right about 600ths of a second per lap. On it's actually 500 of a second per lap, so it's been really good so far.
We'll see where the fourth time now lies and where his average goes. So far, majority of the field in the 39.6s. 3 drivers in 39.7s, 1 in the 39.8s. It's another driver to the 39.6s. Jay Brandt ahead of Ryan Otis behind Joshua Chin, separated by about 1/100th of a second on the board. Next driver up, Andrew Kinsella. Very notable driver. We talked about him and his potential for joining the 2-win club here. German Motorsports Red Machine looking to show what he can do here in this qualifying session. Does a lot of work for Lionheart competition. 97 starts, 10 victories, 49 top 5s, and a whopping 66 top 10s. The 2019 HyperX Indianapolis 500 winner.
Yes, so Kinsella is one of those guys that we should be keeping an eye on as he's going to finish the first lap 39.560 here, Justin. So looking really promising so far. He's also the setup. He was the one to make the setup for the Indy GP, and if I recall correctly, also the Mid Ohio GP.
Yes, indeed. Does a lot of work for Lionheart competition when it comes to the custom setups. Well, it's been having a fairly impressive season. Andrew Kinsella 10th in the points entering tonight. 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s on his campaign so far. Closest he's been to victory was Kentucky, 2nd on May the 5th. 3rd time around now, his 2nd time in the 39.6s.
Yeah, that's a big range, because that is nearly a full second, a full 10th of a second loss from lap 1 or lap 2. Let's see if we can actually minimize the damage on lap 3 to 4. Sorry, 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4.
Indeed, as you see him zip on by at 228 miles an hour at that time. A little bit higher up, I'm noticing, in the corners compared to some of the others so far in their runs, as 3rd time around, another 39.6, in fact, near identical to his 2nd time.
And just 1,000th of a second difference, Justin.
Absolutely incredible, as he nearly hit the rumble strips. In fact, in 1 and 2 we've seen that sent him a bit slidey around the racetrack. We'll see how that impacts his 4th time around. Andrew Kinsella. We'll see where the average now lies for the number 41. The 4th time around will put him in the 39.6s as well. 3rd quickest, 3 1,000ths of a second or so behind Jason Brophy, and right in front of Joe Branch.
Impressive. I expected him to be 3rd fastest when he was actually doing the 3rd lap, so really good job from Kinsella over here.
We are now approaching halfway, as Ricky Harden will be the 16th total driver scheduled to be on the track. Ricky Harden looking to be very competitive in this run. He's shown flashes of speed this season. 26 career starts, 2 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and 1 pole. His average start, 17.7, average finish, 14.7 in Lionheart IndyCar Series competition. Hard in the Wall is his nickname. Does YouTube/streaming capabilities with his iRacing expertise. Trying to keep himself clean on the racetrack, hoping to keep himself out of trouble today. A 39.6 to start.
A 6.20. Let's see what he will do for lap number 2. But Harden, again, you said it, that he has some flashes of, you know, speed and and also pace in some of the races, especially in the ovals where he shines the brightest than in the road aspect. But still, really a solid driver in the road. But the last result he actually got over here, just taking a quick look, it was actually P18 in the EDGP.
His best finish, Homestead, indeed. 15th, back at the start of March. 2nd time around, by the way, was an hour 39.6. 39.648 to be precise on the stopwatch. And I'm noticing some of the drivers are trying to bobble away from that wall. How critical is that to try and go more so middle of the track compared to stay buttoned up against the wall?
If you're talking about on the back stretch and in the front stretch, I would say it's more like preference. There are some drivers that actually just go, you know, whenever you leave turn 4 and 2, that they go into the bottom length of the track, you know, nearly to the white line on the bottom part of the track, so that they can actually maximize their runs and try to grab a little more speed and try to use the shallow transition from the banking to the flat portion. But then again, I don't know if there's a huge time advantage in there. It's more like driver preference, really.
This will bring us to halfway of the schedule. Drivers as Ricky Harden slides into the wall. Hard into the wall goes Ricky Harden as he breaks the back wing, and that will disallow his qualifying run in the final corner.
It's tragic. Let's look on the replay here, Justin. What happened? Because the car looks really well pointed towards street, but then I think he actually clipped a little bit on the curbing between the transition 4 into the back and the front straight. Oh, the front of the car just decided to snap, and then the rear just followed suit right as you was actually getting a top 5 result in my calculations here.
Very unfortunate, but now that brings up your points leader and one of the top drivers in Lionheart competition today, Adam Blocker. Adam Blocker has had a lot of success in this series. The last time he finished outside the top 5 was around September 2020. He hasn't finished outside the top 5 since Chicagoland of the 2020 season. It's been that dominant a campaign, and his first lap for the Adrenaline Power Slide driver was a 39.503. That's the second quickest first lap of the day.
And only Henry Bennett got the fastest lap so far. Let's see what his second lap will be. But we know Blocker is one of these guys that can put monstrous laps, and now nearly using the full extension of the crown, nearly grazing the wall, and he's another driver going 5th gear.
For Adam Blocker, he is one of your top drivers in series history, as he tries to keep it from wobbling up the track. Had a 39.5 his second time around. 25 career victories in this series, 61 top 5, 64 top 10s, and a whopping 23 pole awards. Can he make it 24 tonight?
I'm telling you, Justin, if that lap is right above 6.37 or 6.3 something, 6.25, that is even better. That is actually slated for pole so far.
And there are 39.6 for the third time around, so 2 5s and a 6 for Blocker's run. Big question, can he get himself into the ballpark of Henry Bennett, Jason Brophy, Andrew Kinsella? Looking like it's a strong run, losing a bit of time here on this 4th lap. Qualifier number 17, Adam Blocker, will come across the stripe. Here we go. For Adam Blocker, a 39.6, top of the board. 39.5, first time the average has hit that mark all day.
Wow. Those 2 first laps is what did for Adam Blocker, and then the third one just kind of like was the seal of the deal. Minimal time loss between the lap 2, 3, and 4, so amazing results so far.
Let's take a look at those results so far and how things are buttoning up. This is now after 17 total slots, halfway through in total on the board. Adam Blocker is currently at the top of the session now by about 9/1000 of a second over Henry Bennett, Jason Brophy, Andrew Kinsella, and Joe Branch, your top 5. Sage Karam, Chris Fowler, Joshua Chin, Jay Brandt, Ryan Otis, the top 10. Overall, 14 drivers have taken times. Your scratches so far in session: Brian Greenlee, who was unable to attend, Matt Taylor from a first lap incident, Ricky Harden from a lap 4 turn 4 crash. That brings up Jason Galvin onto the board. Thumbs up, cancer down, LPM machine, looking to show what he can do. Remember, had that emotional victory earlier on in the campaign back at Phoenix, his home track.
First lap here, Justin, 39.652 for the number 42 car. So far, it's not going to put him in the pole, but I want to see what his second time will be to start, prioritizing where he might be in the pack of this field.
Don't forget, it's also one of the critical parts of the charity race that took place at iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, the Thumbs Up Cancer Down 250, earlier this month as well, with the load of 79s. That charity raising more than $1,000 from the event.
Yeah, really good race. Really fun race, by the way, that we cover here, Justin. Second lap, 0.02 of a second better than his first lap.
See where the third time now lays for Jason Galvin. 125 career starts entering tonight. 8 career victories, 26 top 5s, 49 top 10s, an average start of 15.3. Third time around, only a 39.7 though. That time missed the bottom completely for the start of his fourth lap.
And this lap so far puts him right about between, if I have to estimate, I think right between Joshua Chin and Jay Brent. So he's looking really good so far.
Indeed he is right now. We'll see where the average now lies for Jason Galvin as he comes around for the completion of his fourth lap. Jason Galvin, an hour 39.7. It's the fourth driver in the 39.7s on average. That will put him towards the bottom half of the board, 11th. Adam Frazier will be next on the board. And for Adam Frazier, his best Lionheart memory for the independent driver, battling with Tony Kanaan in the Indy GP last year. Played hockey from 6 years old all the way through college. Golfs and surfs for fun as well. Lots of racing experience in his family from his time where his father was an executive over at Nextel, where his first kart race was at Nazareth, where he got to meet the Pac West drivers, one being Scott Dixon, able to partake in his first oval race overall. Race or two after the canceled Texas race they kept hearing about at the time he described during the weekend. But he's now on the clock either way for qualifying, Lorenzo.
Yeah, on the clock, and first line over here looking really good now. Let's see the transition to second, first to second. Then a little bit of a tighter line in between the second and then the transition to the backstretch. Doesn't want to use the full run of the track. That might lose a little bit of time, maybe 0.05 of a second to 0.04 of a second, depending on the circumstances.
For Frazier in his career, 1 top 5 in 28 starts, 4 top 10s, average start of 20th, average finish of 19.8. Second time around, an hour 39.6. For Frazier, 21st in the points entering tonight, by the way. One of those top 10s come from. That top 10 came at Long Beach, by the way, back in March.
And the last result, 13th place at the Indy GP, despite starting 10th position. Had a few issues in the middle of the race, especially in the first part of the stint, the first half of the race that bumped them a few spots back.
Third time around to 39.7. And it's interesting seeing some of the discussion among some of the drivers from the YouTube perspective for tonight too, Renzo. A lot of them definitely taking notes from some of the earlier runs in qualifying and really trying to find those proper in-car tools to be able to get the times of Blocker and Bennett. But for Frazier, we'll see what the time now lays. For him, his personal best in practice was a 39.5. See where the qualifying average now puts him, an hour 39.7. It brings him to the fourth lap.
Yeah, looks like he's going to be right between Scott Holmes and Hacker with his performance so far. Let's see if he can actually minimize the damage on the final lap.
Yes, indeed. Pardon me, there is now. We see where that average now does lie, with a couple 39.7s during this run. Adam Frazier come across the stripe this time and put in a 39.726. Second slowest on the board, right in front of Scott Holmes, behind Ken Hacker. Bring up Stephen Larkamp now for qualifying as he's already about to start on the clock. Now we're on the Alcantech Simulations NHR Esports machines. For Larkamp, 74 career starts, 9 top 5s, 36 top 10s. Remember, it was Matt Taylor who had that spin, who is a teammate to this car early on in this session.
And his last race, by the way, was actually his best race of the season here, Justin. He has only one top 10, which was actually at the ADGP track, and that bumped him into the top 15 in the standings. He was in the top 15, but that bumped him a little bit. In the standings, he's now standing P14 so far in our season.
39.5 to start things off. One of the quicker first times. And when you have a teammate that has a spin, how does that affect your qualifying run as a driver? Do you tweak to try to avoid what happened to your teammate? Or do you just try and put that behind you and focus on your run?
Put it behind you and focus on your run. You know, even though your teammate is important for you to guys be thinking and standings, and Alcantech has to be one of these teams who has to be, you know, thinking about the standings in the teams, because their battle with the graphics LPM has been really close. Second lap, 35.651 for Larkamp. I think the position he has to be right now, just do whatever he has to do to get at a really good spot in the track.
You can see he's utilizing the 5th gear, by the way, down these straightaways, compared to some who have utilized the 6th gear. A little bit slower this time to the short chute, only hitting 224. Middle of the apex of 10.4. See how that impacts this time around. It will be in the 39.6s, about 6 or 7 1,000ths of a second difference. Larkamp a little bit loose to start his 4th lap as well.
Ooh, the weight jacker adjustment needed to be immediate for him to actually avoid mistakes going from 1 to 2. But that could have put him a little bit back. Just making calculations here, he's right, I think, on the ballpark of Joshua, in between Joe Branch and maybe Sage Cameron right now.
That'd still be decent track position to be among the top competitors, but we'll see how that slide in turn 1 and 2 acts this run. It's a 39.7. Drops him just about where you predicted, Lorenzo, in fact. Just behind Joe Branch and in front of Sage Karam.
Yeah, like I predicted. It was a little bit dangerous, though, because had he been losing, I think, if I've estimated, if he had gotten a 37.40, he might have gotten behind Sage Karam and then Chris Fowler.
Now on the board from Elite West Motorsports, it's Christopher Reagan. He's already on his first lap, hitting 231 miles an hour down the straightaway. Just 5 starts this season, and in his IndyCar Series career, 2 top 10s in that span. 21.0 his average start. His first time around, a 39.62. So a decent first lap to start off the run for Reagan.
A good lap. Let's see what his second lap will be. And Reagan has some promises. He had, I think, a really strong showing whenever he was actually on the track, but it got affected by a few issues. Let's see how he will do on the second part of his stint.
Best finish in this series this season. Coming in from Kentucky, 18th. Second time around with an error 39, a high 39.6. Next up after this, by the way, Matt Houston, Damon Martinez, Chris Stouffer on deck. Give a shout out to ATBO for all the work done on the graphics and to be able to support average qualifying laps for this series. Nick Thisson, Kevin Niatol, Simon Grossman, and Christopher Reagan with the slide. And that's going to be the end of his qualifying run. Not how Reagan's going to have wanted that session to end for him. getting loose coming off of turn 4 on his third lap.
Too much weight, Jacker. Even though he kept it on track, I don't know if that actually gave him a two-time incident. To be very honest with you, Justin, but that ruins your whole run. You cannot get back the time that you lost.
That's now the 4th driver with either a scratch or a time disallowed due to incident during this session. He immediately knew it too and dived it right on into the pit lane. So that, as a result, brings up Matt Houston. He's already getting ready on his warm-up for this qualifying run. Matt Houston, 1 start on the season in the series.
Made his debut last time by at the Indy GP. Got a P
Check that,
P20.
8 starts, I should rather say.
Oh, okay. But I think he got a P20 in the Indy GP, but
He did.
yeah. So let's see how he will do in the oval.
Mid-Ohio, he finished his best finish on the season in 13th. Race first driver has tried to roll the dice a lot, Lorenzo, I've noticed this season, though. He's tried a lot of strategy gambles to get track position. Hasn't worked out in some cases, but he's had speed when he's been able to make it work. A 39.5, by the way, the first time around.
Yeah. That Mid-Ohio race you talked about, that was his best spot. That was actually one of his gambles playing out right, because he went on a different strategy in terms of tires, and actually worked out for him at the end of the day. Of course, some of the drivers had issues that bumped them up a little some spots, but nevertheless, he's one of those gamblers that either it works or it doesn't.
Keep in mind, he is the owner race first and is someone with a very busy schedule when it comes to open wheel race. He's actually someone who does broadcast work for Reddit's IndyCar League, believe it or not, as well. Admin as well, some road focused, I should rather say, IndyCar leagues as well. As mentioned, owner of Race First. He's on his third lap of 39.6, second time around, by the way. Only 2:23 in the apex that time, and it seems some of the drivers starting to slow down a little bit as some of the rubber buildup is picking up on the track in the corners. I've noticed in 3 and 4.
And his last lap was actually really bad one, 39.811. So that looks like he's going to be right about maybe Ken Hacker and Adam Frazier, just doing head calculations here so far.
We'll see if you are correct, Houdini. As now, survey says as he comes through turn 4. We're about to find out. 39.8 the third time around. Fourth time around, a 39.7 does pick it up. It actually moves up above that range to where Jason Galvin and Ryan Otis are. Behind Otis, right in front of Jason Galvin on the board. And that brings up the teammate to Sage Carey. An oval specialist this season, David Martinez, running just the oval races on the campaign. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do in the number 3 machine.
Running the backstretch. Basically, Sage and Damon have been running the ovals only this season. Of course, I think Sage, ran one of the road races. You can correct me better than I do. I just cover Mid-Ohio with you, and then the GP. But looking so far, good average first run, 39.852 for Damon Martinez on his first lap. Something might have happened.
Keep in mind that Martinez will not be finishing the season as he'll be joining the Air Force in August. Like, congratulate him on that endeavor as Martinez makes his way around for the second time. For Martinez in his career, 44 starts, 4 top 5s, 12 top 10s, 2 career poles.
And for my part, I just want to say thank you for your service, by the way.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, his best finish of the season came at Worldwide Technology Raceway, a third-place run, coming at the start of June to begin what's been an action-packed month of action in the IndyCar series. Carrying a lot of speed, I've noticed this run. It looks like it's just right now looking like he's having a good rebound compared to that first lap where he seemed to struggle.
And looks like it. The last lap, basically nearly 4/10 to 400 of a second slower, 39.756. I think the problem was just that first lap. Something might have happened. The build up the tires has not been optimal to him. But then again, it's a 500 race. Even though you're in the back, you still have a shot. Every driver has a shot regardless of what happens.
Martinez coming around for his fourth and final time. 224 in the corner exit. Started off with an 8 to begin this run for Martinez. It's another 8, and it is going to put him 18th quickest. In front of Holmes, behind Adam Frazier on the board. Closing into the final stages of qualifying, Chris Stouffer now on the track, Indiana's own. It's well known in this series, going to show what he can do. Stouffer, 126 career starts in the series, 5 wins, 24 top 5s, 42 career top 10s in this series, and 1 pole. His average start, 16.2, and he always finds his way up towards the front in many a Lionheart Racing Series action. First time around, a 39.5, high 39.5, but we'll see how the rest of the run goes. He's got 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s this season so far, Lorenzo.
Yeah, really good driver. You know, I think he actually got those top 5 and top 10 story during the oval portions, the first 2 rounds of the season. But Stouffer, very strong driver nevertheless, and he's 17, just lost 1 spot because he had a subpar Indy GP, but he can bounce back. I am very sure his second lap can be really good over here in the 500 too.
39.6 the second time around, actually hit the rumble strips that time and cost him a little bit of time. See how that fares for the stopwatch overall, only 224 on the exit of turn 2. After this, Lionel Callisto, Aaron Morgan, James Grahula will be on the clock. And Connor Harrington, Justin Weaver, Brian Carey, Tyler Graff, Mike Rasmus will close things out for this session for the HyperX Indianapolis 500 race for the pole. Third time around, a 39.6 as well.
An average loss of 500ths of a basically 5/10ths of a second, 500ths of a second. Yeah, correction. I'm so sorry. From lap 1, 2 to 3.
Fourth time around for Chris Stouffer. Bit of a bobble that time in turn 3. Bit more smoother on the exit of turn 4 as he now makes his way around the racetrack. For Chris Stouffer, where will his average fare out? Out 8. 39.6. Behind Sage Karam, in front of Chris Fowler.
By 1,000 of a second.
Next driver on the board, Lionel Callisto for Sector 5. As these drivers continue to fare out for qualifying, let's take the opportunity to talk to Andrew Kinsella, who is currently among one of your highest drivers on the board, 4th in session so far. Andrew, first of all, how did you do it?
Well, first of all, I'm I'm a little disappointed. Screwed up my lap 1 and 2 a little bit, but it was just like you had to really do some practice and find where the edge is. And fortunately, Henry put in some work for our team and really found some good settings with the tools in car to make the thing handle around the track. And yeah, it was very difficult to drive, but as long as you were careful, you could find speed. And I screwed up 2 of my laps and Adam didn't, and that's kind of the difference between where he and I was, I think.
As well, when it comes to a qualifying session like this, what's the feeling like knowing you have 4 laps, just 4 laps, to set the quickest time possible and the best average possible, and needing to do it cleanly and efficiently?
Yeah, it's definitely a nerve-wracking experience for sure. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun. One of the things I found is actually that doing stuff like this in the Indy 500, the official Indy 500 qualifying, has really helped me with managing my stress and managing the pressure in situations like these. So it's one of those things where once you you actually probably feel the most pressure as you're sitting on pit road waiting to go out, and then once you get in the car, you're just sort of at the point where instinct takes over and you just sort of relax and hit the gas and go for it.
Now that you've got yourself a very solid position right now, what's now the strategy going to be like for the big race this weekend?
Yeah, I think that track position will be important, but at the same time, I think the fun thing about the Indy 500 is as soon as you think you have the strategy down, you don't, because then a caution will come out and it'll completely throw a wrench in your plans. So it's one of those things where you have to be prepared for basically any scenario. You might find us pitting out of the lead or out of a top 5 position just because that's the right strategy call, and it might put us back in the pack and it might not work out. And it's one of those things where you have to be prepared to take a few risks, especially early in the race, to do what you think is right and set you up for a good finish. And just hopefully the strategy will work out at the end, and we'll be where we want to be and have a shot at the win come 50 to go. It's all bets are off from there.
Thank you for the time, Andrew.
Thanks, Justin.
Andrew Kinsella, currently 4th on the board. By the way, Lionel Kalisto just finished up his run with 39.693 in front of Otis and behind Jay Brandt. Aaron Morgan is now on the racetrack in the midst of his run at 39.6 to start things off on the board. And the Rainbow Warriors inspired paint scheme for Morgan.
Let's see how Morgan will do. Basically a wider line through 3. I don't know if that's going to affect a little bit of his time going through 3 and 4. Usually that inflicts a little bit of a time loss, maybe 500ths of a second, 600ths of a second. Let's see, lap 2. Yeah, full 10th of a second slower.
Starting to really struggle, it looks like, in this run for a driver with 15 career starts in the series, 3 top 5, 7 top 10s. An average start of 16.6 in his time in this series.
And remember, sorry, I was just going to say, he's basically been a driver who's been adapting more to the ovals and the road things. He's more, all his strong outings have been in the road, not in the ovals.
Yeah, 3rd at Mid-Ohio, 6th at Watkins Glen, 5th at Long Beach. Has shown great speed as well in the Retro Series when it comes to some racing as well. 39.7 his 3rd time around, by the way. Did pick up the pace on the 3rd lap.
I put him right, I think, in between Ron Hacker and Mike Ridgely with his average so far.
That would be towards the bottom half if this continues to be the trend for Morgan. Off the final corner, Aaron Morgan. Coming across. Below Ken Hacker and above Adam Frazier, a 39.7. Just 2 1,000ths quicker than Adam Frazier on the average. Now bring up the next driver on track who's starting up third lap. James Krahula. Sim Racing Merch Esports machine in that highlighter yellow car. Krahula, 108 career starts, 3 career victories, 25 top 5s, and 55 top 10s, 1 career pole in the series. One of a few drivers with a better average finish than his average start. Keep in mind, 16.1 to his 14.1. We're down to the final 5 to go, including Krahula. We are hearing there is the potential of Justin Weaver being bumped. We'll have to see.
Yeah, just to let you guys know, next one on the deck is Connor Harrington. Then we have Justin Weaver if he connects. Brian Carey is the 30th. And then Tyler Graff and Mike Rasmus are the last 2 drivers in our qualifying.
For James Krahula, 4 starts this season, by the way. And it's not been the best of seasons. He did lead a lap at Kentucky, but his best finish came at Homestead, a 12th place run, where he led 2 laps in that respective race. Second lap, 39.6.
200ths of a second improvement from his first lap to second. Literally 200ths of a second.
You just gotta love how these cars look in this type of racetrack, the prestige of this type of event, though, Lorenzo. You can feel the buzz just about with these cars continuing to make their way across the track in the closing stages here.
It's rather unique. Normally you have those qualifyings that can be a little bit. Of course, they're cool and all, but I think only Indy and maybe some other events worldwide have that mystique in terms of qualifying that a few other races don't have. Not that a few other races have, the majority of the other races don't have.
Absolutely. Krahula now coming around the final corner. Put up a 39.7 his 3rd time around. Let's see what the average now fares for him. Will he be able to keep it top half of the board? It will be 15th. About 1 1,000th of a second or so behind Matt Houston. A couple 1,000ths ahead of Jason Galvin on the board. That brings up one driver looking for redemption from the Indy GP. Contact with traffic, Connor Harrington.
A tragic contact with Mike Rasmus, by the way.
Very tragic and very big. That cost him several laps just as he was chasing down Blocker for the race lead.
Yep. Really unfortunate. Harrington finished 20th, 4th on that race.
Private label team Hype Machine. They're having a lot of momentum this season. 59 career starts. This will be a 60th total with this race on the weekend. With 5 victories, 27 top 5s, and 31 top 10s. 4 career poles for Harrington the first time around was a 39.5. And his speeds right now in the middle of the apex is Lorenzo 1 mile an hour quicker than a lot of the other drivers in session.
He knows when to carry that speed, Connor, so I'm not surprised at all how he's actually putting that work. Those wayjackers, might be set up quite in the limit of, either the car spins out or you get that hero lap as he's going to round out his second lap. Let's see how it will be.
Another 39.6 from one of our drivers. It's a 39.6 in the mids. Harrington trying to pick up the tempo now for this third lap. so far in the season has been one of your championship hopefuls. As talked about earlier on the broadcast, 112 points back of Blocker with the 1 victory on the campaign, 6 top 5s, 6 top 10s. No poles, however, so far this season. Third time around, another 39-6.
By my calculations here, Justin, he lies where I think in between Joe Branch and Andrew Kinsella and Joe Branch, so this could be tricky.
Could absolutely be tricky for Harrington. Will Connor Harrington be able to pull himself forward on the board? Where will he fare? His teammate Jason Brophy is third. Joshua Chin is in 10th. Cross the stripe, top 5. 39.6 average. Puts him right in front of Joe Branch and right behind Andrew Kinsella.
Just as I said it.
And as Brian Carey now hits the track and are one of the Adrenaline Motorsports machines for the red team. Adam Blocker now joins us in the broadcast booth. Adam, first things first, how did you set the only time so far in the 39.5 so far?
Well, yeah, just like Andrew said, I gotta thank Henry for doing about an hour of testing and finding some settings that were good. Obviously, we do a lot of testing here for open setup, so we kind of had an idea what would work. And yeah, Henry found something that was good, and I just really executed it pretty well. I think my lap 2 could have been a bit better, but the rest of the run was pretty smooth.
A very impressive run, and it would add to what's an astonishing amount of poles, but never in this event in the past. What, in your opinion, makes this event so different in terms of the prestige and the emphasis and the importance, more so like the Brickyard compared to some of the others? How would you describe that for those who don't know that feeling?
Well, yeah, first it's going to be weird starting up front. I think I've never started higher than the 20s here, at least in the Lionheart 500. So that's going to be a bit weird. But yeah, I mean, in any league that races the IndyCar, the Indy 500 is always the most prestigious event. And while this isn't the most prestigious Indy 500 on iRacing, it's still, the top event in this league. And so it's always a big deal. And especially when, you have double points for the race and everything like that, it means a lot to win it. I remember when I won this race in 2018, I think it was only my second or third win at the time. And it definitely meant a lot to me when I won it then, and I definitely want to win it again because cool to be amongst the few people that have won this event multiple times.
And keep in mind, one thing that is incredible too, and have to ask about, is momentum, because you've had a top 5 run essentially that's now stretched to September of last year. How do you look to try and keep that going this weekend?
Just keep doing what I've been doing, just stay out of trouble. I feel like if I stay out of trouble and don't screw up the strategy, I can, at least be top 5, and that's kind of the goal. In my opinion, that's how you win championships, is just finishing top 5s every race, even if it's boring. But yeah, fortunately, I mean, this season hasn't been boring at all. I've been fighting for wins and really contending every race. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, just looking to have fun, and I kind of know, I feel like I have a good feel on how to race Indy. So, yeah, and that was a good run from Brian there.
Yes, indeed, a 39.63. So, guess what? You and your pals for the top 5 spots. Congratulations on the run, Adam.
Yep, thanks you guys for all the coverage. I just want to thank Lionheart for putting on this event. They've done a great job organizing qualifying this year, and yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to George and also Andrew for making the setup. It was really fun. It was a nice balance between an open setup that kind of drives like an open setup, but it's still a fixed setup, and then it's forgiving. So yeah, really fun.
Oh, by the way, the pole sitter also wins a pair of -273 gloves. Locker right now just a couple drivers away from that mark. Tyler Graff is now on the track, one of the final qualifiers in session. Mike Rasmus would be the last total on the board, I believe. As Graff on the first time, set at 39.5, Lorenzo.
Yeah, really good lap so far from Graf. 5.84 is the first lap from Graf. He's about to round out turn number 4 here, Justin. There was like talks in the YouTube chat here, Justin, that we're talking about pole sitters, potential pole sitters. You know, Tyler Graf so far looking for maybe a top 5 spot. He would actually need to improve his third lap to be within that conversation.
It's going to be incredible how things have fared out, or has been incredible, I should say, how things fared out tonight. Only one driver in the 39.5s, Henry Bennett in second, Adam Blocker in first. And of course, Brophy, Kinsella, and Carey the top 5, with the final couple drivers, Graf, looking to break through that bubble. Third time around, only a 39.7 though. So a 5, a 6, and a 7 in this pattern for Graf.
Looking here, he's probably slated within the middle pack of the field. I think right between Joshua Chin and Jay Brent for now.
For Tyler Graf, 74 career starts in this series. 4 top 5s, 24 top 10s. As now we'll see where the fourth and final time puts them on the board. There's 7, middle of the pack. 13th for Graf, the Graphics LPM machine. And that brings up one final driver out of our qualifiers tonight. Mike Rasmus. Here, one of the Graphics LPM machines. He's shown good speed at times throughout this season. 15 career starts in the series, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, on an average start of 22.5 in the series.
And I think for Rasmus, he needs a good result here in Indianapolis because, again, we were talking about Connor Harrington. He's the other protagonist of the incident that Harrington had. So, looking so far, first good lap, 35.594 here, Justin.
So a good first lap. We'll see what the second lap now fares for Rasmus. Keep in mind, this season, 16th in the points entering tonight with 2 top 10s. Best finishes, Kentucky and Watkins Glen on the campaign. Finished 12th at the Indy GP. Second time, by the way, at 39.6 as well for Mike Rasmus.
And that would have put him right in between Chris Stouffer and Chris Fowler right now in terms of there's actually a correction in between Sage Karam and Chris Stouffer.
We'll see where the third time now settles on in for Mike. Looking nice and smooth so far. A little bit higher on his apexes compared to some of the others, though. Notice throughout the session. It's got 231 at the line, a 39.7. Not the best of runs as he wobbles up the track for turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm starting to look. You actually might join his teammate Tyler Graf in the middle of the pack, right about P13, 14, as he's probably continuing with Jay Brando on the backstretch for that P14 spot.
Overall tonight, 27 drivers will be able to set official times. Several scratches along the way, but for Mike Rasmus, where will he finish things out at? Cross the line, another 39.7, 15th quickest. One of Callisto behind Jay Brandt. So that closes things out in what was a thrilling qualifying session with the HyperX Indianapolis 500 race for the pole. In the end, only one driver was able to break through for the 39.5s on average. It was Adam Blocker over Henry Bennett. Adrenaline Power Slide first, Adrenaline Motorsports Red in second. Jason Brophy finished in third in qualifying with Andrew Kinsella, Brian Carey, Connor Harrington, the top 6. Joe Branch, Stephen Larkamp, Sage Karam, and Chris Fowler round out your top 10 for this weekend's action. Wow, Chris Fowler will start in 11th. Joshua Chin 12th, with Tyra Graf, Jay Brent, Mike Rasmus. The top 15 with Lana Kalisto, Ryan Otis, Matt Houston, James Garula, and Jason Galvin, your top 20. The rest of the drivers who set times tonight were Ron Hacker, Mike Rigney, Ken Hacker, Aaron Morgan, Adam Frazier, Damon Martinez, and Scott Holmes. The rest of the drivers either did not qualify or had incidents during their runs. But with that sets the grid for the HyperX Indianapolis 500 on June the 27th, Lorenzo. It's going to be pressure-packed. It's going to be fun. 500 miles from the Brickyard.
200 laps, 500 miles, basically 800 turns. Can't wait to see it. It will be exciting nevertheless. The first of the Triple Crown events. Points are double. It's all hell but going to break loose within the pack of the race. I can't wait those IRA teams take the track and then the Brickyard.
Don't forget after that as well, the swing into July as well at tracks like the Milwaukee Mile and Silverstone. But for right now, that Triple Crown is the major focus on all these drivers' minds to see who can come away with a win in the HyperX Indianapolis 500-mile race. But on that note, I'd like to thank the sponsors who take part in Lionheart Racing Series competition. For sim racers, the Butt Kicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit adds the missing driver to car connection, bring more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like you've never before, and provides increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com and don't forget to use promo code LION2021 for 20% off orders. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of the premier gaming gear, like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com. Don't forget to use the promo code LionHRT15 for 15% off orders. The Sim Experience AccuForce Pro V2 is the premier professional simulation racing steering system. The key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire Sim Experience ecosystem, visit simexperience.com. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable polyspandex. Whether you're a kart or sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz. Don't forget to use Minus 273 LHRS15 for 15% off orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing Channel. Follow former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing Channel on YouTube, like its Facebook page at the DMLC Racing Channel. I'd also like to thank all the sponsors on your screen as well for all the work they do in Lionheart Racing Series competition. To learn more about them, go to LionheartRacingSeries.com. As well, don't forget to follow along on social media for Lionheart Series on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. ESTV on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And of course, RaceSpot TV on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, as well as on Twitter and Instagram. With that, it's time to say goodbye. For Istvan Bello, for Arjuna Kankapati, for Lorenzo Bonder, I'm Justin Prince. Thank you for watching RaceSpot TV's coverage of the HyperX Indianapolis 500 Race for the Pole. We'll see you this upcoming weekend for the HyperX Indianapolis 500 to see who can kiss the yard of bricks in one of the most historical tracks in all of racing. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you next time.